Catch up on all the live shows right here on africatechradio.com.
Welcome back to Africa Tech's Roundup on Africa Tech Radio. Well, so here we unpack the biggest tech, startup and policy moves shaping the continent, all under 15 minutes. I pledge to make it under 15 minutes. Okay, today's lineup has a little something for everyone, from, Elon Musk's satellites quietly coming back online in Kenya amidst getting a big whooping from the US, to Nigerian banks shopping for power across the region, to something really big happening on the Africa front, which is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Guys, let's just dive in. So we're starting with Starlink, which returned in Kenya, but I'm guessing we will stay in Kenya because they had a 7-month pause. Elon Musk's Starlink is back after that pause in several African countries, including Kenya, not just Kenya, because I know the last time I reported, they're back in Kenya. We just saw them in Kenya. Well, the satellite internet service, yes, had halted new signups due to congestion, but now rural users can once again tap into the 100 megabits per second, more like semi-urban, or suburban. And here's the catch. Kenya's regulators are proposing a 10% hike in license fees and 2% turnover levy for satellite ISPs. There's a serious financial curveball. Okay, Starlink's re-entry is big for connectivity in the suburban area, but the new licensing regime might make long-term sustainability a bit tricky. I talked about this, in the last roundup that I gave last week, and I think you should check that out too. Now we're moving to Ethiopia. Yes. So they've officially opened the banking sector to foreign banks. Yes, you heard that right. This is we haven't heard this in over 5 decades. Only 5 licenses will be granted over 5 years, and the big guys like the KCB and Standard Bank are already circling in. It's a historic pivot from decades of economic protectionism. And Ethiopia wants capital, they want competition, and clearly it's banking on banks to bring both to the table, more like to their borders and into the country. South Africa, the president Cyril Ramaphosa is supporting a shake-up of South Africa's Black Economic Empowerment rules, especially for ICT, the BEEB rules. It's getting a tech-savvy twist. So under the new proposal, foreign tech players like Starlink can skip the 30% local ownership requirement by investing the equivalent in development progress. Don't give us money, don't give us equity, give us impact. I'd like to know what you guys think about this, because this was a huge issue for, I think, Elon when he decided to actually move to ZA, and I think some other countries too in the area, the Southern Africa area region also had this issue too. So if we're twisting things a bit because of the tech guys, I don't know, who knows? Now, we're back to banks, but this time in Nigeria, where Access Bank just wrapped up its acquisition of Standard Chartered's Tanzanian business, and they announced it via Instagram stories. Yes, really, Instagram stories. Shout out to all the guys in the digital space, because why not if not? Okay, that was actually the kicker and the twist to it. With the recent buys that, we've seen Access Bank do from Angola to Gambia, Sierra Leone, they are steadily buying way into this Pan-African dominance, which we look forward to them having. And another story, which I would, the major story I have for, today, this episode, would maybe give credence to maybe they've seen something like that happening, and that's why they're really getting in and trying to become like a really, really dominating force in the banking space on the continent. Once central bank lifts restrictions in this July, we expect Access Bank to move even faster in, copying up the other businesses, mergers, acquisitions, and the rest of it to ensure that it actually, stays strong on the continent. Now, we're still talking money, but this time it's like new money. It's the crypto firm Luno coming back to Kenya, right? That's another comeback. It originally entered in 2024 as BitX. It left, then rebranded globally in 2017. Now it's adding Kenya to its list of markets alongside Nigeria and South Africa. So crypto adoption is rising again, and Luno wants a second bite to the East African markets. I can tell you for a fact that the Eastern African market is really good when it comes to, it's a really big market on the continent when it comes to anything crypto, anything Web3, any conversation like that. It's big around it. Now, something else. Let's come back to Nigeria. Yeah? Yes, we're almost everywhere. But Lagos recently launched a GPS-linked address system. So no more after the tall building painted white. You know that guava tree? You see a guava tree and then they cut it down. Like you no longer be able to like describe the person's house. No, nothing like after that third yellow house, turn left, turn right. Lagos has launched a digital addressing system, giving every building a numbered plate and a QR code that links to GPS coordinates. This is good for government services. It's good for those in the delivery space, right? Anyone who's in the delivery space doing transport, movement, logistics, like it's really good because it's easier for you to deliver products, deliver anything. Really, it's good for tax collection because you're able to, pin it down to one particular point. It's really good. It's good for emergency services too. You're calling and you're like, where are you on? You're like, number 34B12. And you're like, oh, but we're seeing like 3 different houses. And you're like, just enter inside and turn when you see a red bull. Like, guys, come on. Shouldn't like that. Well, so these are like the major tidbits of the stories that I found. But then they're like some other stories that I'd like to highlight, which is Wave's $137 million debt raise. And well, the mobile money unicorn has decided to go bigger. And I'm talking big moves in the mobile money space. They just secured $137 million in debt funding to grow their services and reach more Africans. And they've actually made headlines with this because it's a record-breaking Series A. And it's just, I don't know how to describe it. So debt funding, right? Instead of selling like a slice of their company like they did during the equity rounds, they are borrowing this money with a plan to pay it back. It's a huge vote of confidence from the finance world. Lenders believe that Wave's model is solid enough to bet on without taking ownership on it, right? And this round was led by Rand Merchant Bank, along with the global players like British International Investment, FinFund, Northfund, and trust me, these are big names. They're backing Wave's low-cost, mobile-first approach to financial services, the same approach that got Wave listed on Y Combinator's top 50 earners 2 years back to back. And you're thinking, well, no, this funding isn't coming in a vacuum. Wave has had a busy few months. Just in June, they secured a license to operate in Cameroon, making their official entry into the Central Africa. Yeah. And Wave hit a $1.7 billion valuation after raising $200 million in Series A. That was the largest ever Series A for an African startup. And this is also big, right? That $200 million made Wave the first unicorn in Francophone Africa. And like big cash, the momentum is like really high. Credibility is also on a high. I really look forward to seeing how far, Wave can take this. And we're all really hoping that they take this because we've had a lot of news really, recently about a lot of firms like startups failing. It's not like it's news, right? Because startups, right? But then a lot of the ones that we looked forward to, staying a lot longer in the space, not staying longer in the space. So I really hope this works, not just for Wave, for the entire Francophone Africa and the rest of Africa. So yes, mPesa in Kenya is getting, a run for their money from Airtel. And it seems like there's a quiet noise happening in Kenya's mobile money market, and Airtel Money is the one who is like stamping its foot on the ground or making that noise. Yes, M-Pesa still dominates, but then it seems like the size that they actually held is beginning to shrink. We got new data from the Communications Authority of Kenya last week that shows that M-Pesa's market share dropped from 97% in the late 2023 to 90% by Q1 of 2025, right? So it's like an almost 7% drop in just about 2 years. And for 6 straight quarters, Safaricom has been losing ground. Meanwhile, Airtel Money has grown from 2.9%, just about 2.9% to over 9%, right? And it's like, it means like, that 7%, this is where it is. And this is within these 2 years. So it started in 2022 when interoperability rules kicked in, allowing users to send and receive money across networks. This was a big blow to Safaricom's walled garden, right? Airtel saw the opportunity. They went in hard, reduced their fees, gave airtime cashbacks. They had partnerships with big retailers like Naivas And they've got a long way to go, but seeing them do this is really good. And for Safaricom, well, Safaricom isn't standing still. They announced a massive $300 million annual investment to upgrade mPesa, building in, more resilience and capacity, something called future proofing, but it's more like defensive play against the pressure they're getting from Airtel. But it's really good so that they do not actually keep losing ground. Airtel would need to just maintain this momentum if they're going to, really dig deep or buy deep into the share that mPesa already has, because mPesa has already won the minds and the hearts of everyone. They'll need deeper trust, wider agent networks, which mPesa already has. Safaricom already has that. And maybe we could see real disruption, and disruption that would actually pay the users, like the people using it. Because if everyone, both Safaricom and Airtel, fight so hard to please the customers, maybe the customers will really be pleased. Let's not forget, mPesa still serves over 34 million users, right? Handling more than 30 billion transactions a year, worth nearly $300 billion. So Airtel is climbing, but mPesa is still the giant in the room. That's mPesa by Safaricom. Now, we go swiftly to South Africa, where the power utility company Eskom is thinking of crypto. And someone would say, you haven't even... So let me give you an idea of what crypto is. So Bitcoin mining, they want to power Bitcoin mining. And someone is saying we've had load shedding for what? How many years now? Consistently. And you want to do what? Well, yes, Bitcoin mining. Eskom says they want to support large-scale computing projects like data centers, crypto farms, as a way to boost revenue, earnings. It sounds very futuristic and it's not addressing the problem. But I know you're asking, how can they reliably supply power? They can't reliably supply power to the regular needs of the people in South Africa, and they want to run high demand operations like Bitcoin mining because that sucks a lot of power, right? But then the CEO of Eskom, Dan Marokane, says that more homes and businesses are beginning to install solar or switch to private suppliers, and the energy demand is shrinking, right? In 2024 alone, usage dropped by 3%. And that decline is expected to continue for the next 5 years. In theory, less demand means less strain on the grid, possibly even less load shedding, right? But Eskom, also would have lesser income. And if you're 400 billion rands in debt, right? That's about $22 billion. You really would want to get more money. You want new customers, possibly the guys that can actually pay a lot more. And I think that's where the Bitcoin mining and data center thing, idea all came, from. Eskom's power is still unreliable and expensive, but then hopefully this would help. Probably this bold new strategy is a survival plan that Eskom really, really needs. They sell premium service, right? And possibly get money and finally stabilize operations, reduce their breakdowns, and keep the lights on. Yeah, it feels like this is the last play, but I really hope that they survive it. Yeah, really, really hope they do. Because not everybody will be able to afford to have other suppliers. Not everyone will be able to afford solar, right? And not everyone will be able to afford other options, right? Okay, still in South Africa, Joburg, thousands of commuters are feeling the pinch of the new public transport payment system. And on the surface, it promises modernization, but on the ground, it's hitting the working class the hardest. And it just feels like this is a period of hardship for everybody. Budgets are getting cut. Even the world's richest man, Elon Musk, is currently experiencing a whole lot. He's going through a lot. And someone asks me, what's up? How are you doing today? I'm I'm going through my own a lot. Okay, so we'll zoom in on South Africa's second largest municipal bus operator, the Metro Bus, as they recently rolled out the new contactless payment system in Joburg. So it charges riders based on the exact distance that they travel. This is a shift from the old system, the old system which used fixed fares by zones and allowed for free transfers between buses. Now, this move is part of the city's broader effort to modernize the fare collection. The old system, what's going to happen to the old system? Well, it's outdated, it's unsupported. The new one more advanced, at least in theory for now. But for many riders, it's proving, a bit far from the ideal, a bit far from what they have budgeted for. And for most people in Joburg that live far from where they work, getting from point A to point B often means 2 or more bus rides. And under the old setup, transfers between those buses were free. But now, like, each leg of the journey costs extra, not just the amount, extra, right? And these small extra costs, they're adding up fast. Some people could be spending like 300 rands more per month. That's like $17 more, right? Like, there are families who are already stretched, right? And even if Metrobus insists that the average fare hike is just about 4.6%, it doesn't feel like it's just a little. Now, the problem isn't just the fare model, right? It's the bigger picture. Most jobs in Joburg are still far from where people live. And so a fare, like a transport fare system that charges more the longer you ride, disproportionately impacts the low-income earners because they can't even live around Joburg for where those jobs are. I'm not sure how this is going to affect the job market or anything, But let's think about upskilling, not just upskilling, like making the tech better, more advanced in a way that actually suits the people, or in a way that let's onboard it or adopt it maybe much more, not slower, but help them get into it first before we actually onboard it. Because this is a whole lot for anyone to deal with. So, 1st of July, yes, I was headed to the studio and I saw Dabengwa and I'm like, what the hell? It's MTN, right? MTN launched phase 1 of their tier 3 data center local cloud that's located in Ikeja. Ikeja is the capital of Lagos. Lagos is a financial nerve center of Nigeria. And it has a total expandable IT capacity load of 4.5 megawatts. According to MTN, the data center infrastructure costs $100 million and the local cloud infrastructure costs $20 million, totaling $120 million. The center is known as Sifiso Dabengwa Data Center. It'd be Nigeria's largest prefabricated modular data with 96 prefabricated containers and a total rack capacity of about 1,500, which is fully modular in power and cooling, and it occupies 3 large and small enterprises. It will reduce the cost of doing business, and they're actually working with the NDPC and the CBN and all the regulators to ensure that the quality of service delivery is like top-notch. What's the hope? The hope is that if they offer more easily accessible services, than hyperscalers like Google, Amazon Wireless, and Microsoft Azure, they would actually get scale and that they would be real solutions for Nigerian businesses. So let's get on to the money. Yes, 1.4 billion in 2025. Oof. Okay, so let's talk about the deal round. What's happening this week? At the beginning of the week, Complete Pharma, it's Ghanaian, they raised $2.5 million from the EU to scale their agri-tech logistics and prediction network across West Africa. Paid HR, the Nigerian startup, raised 1.8 million, led by Arsion Venture Lab. Zuvi, also Nigerian, got acquired by Bass Group in a cash deal. And Shoptro, Nigerian, it's like Abagoing Global, new funding from Rebel Sand Capital to onboard hundreds more craftspeople. And his role, Nigerian, also closed $100,000 friends and family round to help retailers accept digital payments. Small raise, but big potential. And that's all for the roundup for today. Thank you. I think I actually tried and I kept it within the time. And this is Africa Tech Radio. If you're not joining us live on Podbean, on africatechradio.com, then means you're listening to this on, whatever streaming platform you're listening to this from. Drop a comment, leave a like, share with someone, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to catch up on all the live shows right here on africatechradio.com.